Hello everybody, thank you so much for your interest in my childbirthing classes. So right now I am finishing my certification to become a doula, a lactation peer counselor, and a placenta specialist. These classes are part of my final project. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Ariana. I have another business called Ariana Lee Artistry. We are a bridal hair and makeup team. So we travel on location to take care of all the beauty aspects of someone's big day. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about myself, a little bit about what doulas do, and then we're going to go right into what today's class is about, and that is care provider options and locations. Okay, so a little bit about me. So I was inspired to become a doula after my own experiences with childbirth and my own care during pregnancy. So with my first, I delivered at Newton Wellesley Hospital, and we had a midwife and an OB throughout my care. And then the day of, we had lots of different care providers because we were there for a long time. And there was a shift change, so we had a few midwives, tons of nurses, and an OB at one point. So we kind of saw a lot of everybody. So one thing that I was not happy about with my first was the lack of informed consent. And what I mean by that in a hospital setting is that just asking you if you want something is not consent, because you don't know yourself. You're not medically trained, so you don't know exactly what they're saying, and you don't know all the risks or benefits that come with that procedure. So in order to truly consent, you really need to be informed. And that's something that I find a lot of hospitals are not really doing with their patients. They're saying, oh, we're gonna induce you because of this and that reason, and you can say yes or no, but they don't tell you all of the risk factors that might come with that. So you're not really making informed consent. So that was a big one for me with my first. And then this time, being pregnant during a pandemic, which is the worst time, just seeing the lack of care that I was getting, and I really felt like the lack of respect I was getting was really off-putting to me. So I started really researching more and more, as well as some of the things that they were going to make me do in the hospital now because of COVID. So started doing more research. The more I dove into the birth professional world, the more I saw how much things are not being done that are backed by evidence. So that was truly alarming, because we should all get care that is backed by proven science, not by what's easier for the caretaker or the care provider. So that was a huge one for me during this pregnancy. We ended up switching to a home birth midwife. And I was like, you know what, that I feel so much better now, but that's not enough. I also need to start educating and helping other women in this position. So I decided I'm gonna be a doula. So I picked herbal as my for my training, and I've been working on that and just learning so much, and I'm really excited to be able to start offering other women or expecting parents, you know, good information and support through this time that can be scary for some people, and hopefully we can make it not scary at all, because birth is a natural thing that your body knows how to do, and you need to be told that more. I think a lot of women are really being scared during the process instead of being empowered and like being told how amazing your bodies really are. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what doulas do and what we don't do. So doulas are able to provide education, something like this, and also one-on-one education. We're able to point you in the direction of good evidence-based articles or resources so that you can make the decisions that are right for you and your family. We are advocates for you in the birthing place. So wherever you are birthing, we are there to make sure that you are heard and your wishes are granted, and any consent that you're giving is informed. So that also comes with awareness. So when you go to a hospital, let's say, and you are checking in, you do your like signing in work that they give you, you're essentially signing away saying like you consent and you give all of your authority, or your that's not the right word, but you're giving away, you know, your rights to the hospital, and then they are able to do any care that they see necessary for you. So what you could see in the hospital is a nurse or a provider start to do a thing that we have talked about and I know you don't want to do. I'm able to say, oh, hey, mama, I see the nurse is doing X, Y, and Z. Did you have questions about that? And that might be something that while you're in labor, you might not even notice that they're about to do. So I can point that out to you or your doula, and then you can say, oh, that's fine, or hold on, I have questions about what you're gonna do, why are you doing this? And then decide if you want that to be done to you or not. So another thing that we offer is physical support, and this can be really helpful for women, especially if you're planning a natural childbirth. So we are able to, you know, do counter pressure, massage, support you while you're changing positions, all sort of things like that, all physical type support, as well as get you things that you need like water, or you want the shower on, or whatever might come up. We're there to do that for you, because it could be really a lot of work on just your partner to do. So we're there to kind of take a little bit off of them. Another thing that we are able to provide is mental support. So while you're in labor, you might go through stages of labor where you are feeling a bit more, you're doubting yourself or whatever. So we are able to really give you the good support and, you know, praise and all those nice things to help you get through it. So encouragement, that is kind of what we talked about. We're able to help you work through your fears, and we can do this before your labor or during. And then we can suggest techniques during labor. So maybe one position is not working for you, we're able to suggest things to do to help you be more comfortable, more productive in your labor. And some things that we do not do is we don't do any tests or any physical type exams on you. We don't give you medical advice. So if your provider suggests an intervention or a procedure to you, we can help you find information on the risks and benefits. That way you can decide, but we cannot decide for you any medical type things like that. We can't make decisions for you either. So in a hospital setting, even if you've told me ahead of time that you don't want to do something and somebody goes to do that, I can't say no, but I can say, oh, hold on, and then I can ask you, did you want this to be done? And you can say no. So I can give you a little bit of a easier time to bring that up to your provider, but I can't make the ultimate decision for you. And then we will not, or I will not, judge or pressure you in any way. So once you've made your informed decision, then I am not going to pressure you to do something else, and I'm not going to judge you for the decision that you thought was best for you and your family. I'm there to support you and your decisions. And we do not catch the baby, so that would be something that if you want to do, you can do yourself or your partner or your care providers, and that's something that we can go over when we're doing a birth plan and decide who feels comfortable doing that. All right, and then just some things that I'm personally going to offer. I'm going to be offering childbirth education, prenatal support, birth plan, and birth mapping. So that's where we're going to go over all of your options during and right after labor. And we can write them all out. That way we know ahead of time, and if you are birthing at home and you transfer to the hospital, or you're starting at the hospital, that way all of your providers are going to have a written down expectations of what you want and don't want. And then postpartum support, lactation support, and then eventually, once I've got everything up and running, placenta services. So the last thing I wanted to talk about with doula stuff is some statistics. So I got all these statistics off of evidencebased.birth.com. If you have any questions about something that your provider might want you to do, go to that website. You can find tons of great articles and resources to help you make the right decision, and they are all evidence-based. So the study looked at continuous doula support. You are 8 times more likely to go into spontaneous vaginal birth, and that means no inductions. So that means your body just goes into birth on its own, into labor on its own. You are less likely to get pain medication, and that decreases by 10%. Less likely to get an epidural, a vacuum, or forceps birth. Your chance of C-section decreases by 25%, and you're less likely to have a negative feeling about birth. They also found that births with doulas present were 40 minutes shorter. You are less likely to have a low APGAR score, and that is by 31%, which is pretty big. If you don't know, APGAR score is the score that they give the baby right after it's born. That kind of looks at appearance as well as a few other things, and it kind of is a score to decide where the baby's health is at right after it's delivered. And then there is also some evidence that say that doula support lowers the rate of postpartum depression. So all really, really good things, and there are no studies or evidence to show any negative outcomes, like any negative things with having a doula. So definitely all good things there. So now we're going to go in and we're going to start talking about your care provider options. I know a lot of you might already have a care provider picked out, and that's fine. You might want to change once you hear things, or this just might give you some ideas of what you want to talk to your care provider about. So the first option that we have is an OBGYN, and they are going to be delivering or working in a hospital type setting. They are trained surgeons, so they are more likely to do interventions. They are trained in everything that could go wrong and how to handle it. So if you are someone who is high risk, you know that you're high risk and you're going to have certain complications that could come up during labor, then an OB is a great option. But if you are having a normal, healthy pregnancy, then an OB might not be your best match, because they might pressure you into things that you don't really need, because that's just what they're comfortable with, that's what they're used to. So you're also, I want to go over, I'll do this now quickly. So OBs, if you end up with a C-section, and obstetrician is the one that's going to be doing that. And I wanted to talk a little stats for some hospitals in our area about C-sections. So according to the World Health Organization, the C-section rate should be 10 to 15%. And some birth workers would even argue that that should be even lower, closer to a 7%. So 10 to 15% if we're going based off of WHO, and our national average is 31.99%. So much higher than where it should be. So the recommended 10 to 15, that's going to cover true emergency C-sections that are necessary and are life-saving. Anything over that is proven to have negative outcomes for mom and baby because you're going into a surgery that is not needed. So anything over that is proven to be bad. So national average 31.99, terrible, terrible. So Beth Israel Hospital in Boston is a 28.5. Boston Medical Center is a 29.9. Brigham and Women's is a 27.7. The Cambridge Health Alliance is a 24. Mount Auburn is 23. Newton Wellesley is a 22.4, and that is the lowest that I have found around here, which is why I picked it for my last birth, because even though 22.4 is still not where it should be at a 10 to 15, it's still way higher. It was better than closer to a 30 that you're gonna get at some other hospitals. And then Tufts Medical is a 26.2. So there's a lot more places and a lot more hospitals that you can give birth at. So definitely, if you're not at any of those, that was just to give you an idea of the area. But you can look that up, and that's something that you're gonna wanna know. So Newton Wellesley being at the 22.4 could be because they also offer midwives. So that is going to lead us into talk about midwifery care. So there are a few different types of midwives. There is a licensed midwife, a certified professional midwife, a certified midwife, a certified nurse midwife, and a direct entry midwife. So the two more common ones you're going to find in this area is going to be the certified nurse midwife, or also referred to as a CNM, or a certified professional midwife, CPM. So at a place like Newton Wellesley, you're going to find the nurse midwife. They offer like half of your appointments with a midwife, half with an obstetrician, depending on if you are considered high risk or not. If you do get throughout your pregnancy to be considered high risk, then you are moved to only obstetric care. But so the certified nurse midwives are the ones that you're going to find in a hospital setting. Midwives in general are going to be a lot more natural birth minded. They might be less likely to offer unnecessary interventions. But the nurse midwives, they're still nurses. They still work in hospitals, and they still have to deal with hospital politics and hospital procedures and regulations. So they might not be able to do everything that they want. They still might have to adjust their care to fit in to where they're working. A certified professional midwife, they are going to be the ones that are delivering more at private birth centers and home births. They've got a lot more leeway than a nurse midwife as far as care goes for you. So you might have a lot more options as far as things that you do and don't want to do during pregnancy and labor. So that is the type of care provider that we have chosen for this pregnancy. We have a certified professional midwife, so she will deliver us at home. And so something to think about with a CPM is that they still have some guidelines that they have to follow. So that's something that you might want to talk to them about before deciding to go with that provider, or just before your labor, so you know what to expect. So some things that you might want to talk to them about is if you go into labor early, if you go into labor after your due date, if you have a breech baby, or if you have a multiple pregnancy, that could be things that may or may not affect your care with them and might risk you out, so then you have to go into a regular hospital setting or switch to a midwife that doesn't have those types of guidelines or restrictions that they have to meet. So that's just something to be aware of and to talk to them about ahead of time. That way you know. And I have taken the time to write out some questions that you might want to ask your care provider, so you have a good idea of where their head is at and be able to make the right decision for you. So the first one I have is, what is natural childbirth to you? Even if you're not planning to go unmedicated and you still want an epidural or something, this question can be important because it can show you their mindset. We know that birth is a natural thing that happens all throughout nature, and your body is meant to do. Of course, there are complications or emergencies that do arise, but that doesn't mean that that happens all the time, and getting their opinion on that will be important for you to see how they feel. And then another question you can ask is, have you witnessed any uninterrupted births? So if they have never even seen a woman give birth without any interventions, then they might not believe that a woman can do it. And you do not want to be planning an undisturbed birth that is completely natural and beautiful and have your care provider freaking out because they've never seen it before and they don't believe in it. Because if your care provider does not believe in you, it's gonna really make you start to not believe in yourself, and you should believe in yourself. So that could be something you could ask. Another thing, if you have an OB, obstetrician, you can ask, what is your C-section rate? So we've gone over what the numbers should look like. So if they have an extremely high C-section rate, that might be a reason that you might think, maybe I need to switch care, or you just need to realize that they might push you in the direction of a C-section because that's what they do most often and that's what they're comfortable with. Kind of goes with the other one, but you can ask what the hospital C-section rate is, because I'm not sure about everywhere, but I think most places in the US, you might have the same care provider throughout your whole pregnancy, and then you go into labor, that care provider is not working. So you're gonna get whoever is on call or whoever is on shift, and you need to know what they're gonna do. So just knowing the hospital C-section rate can give you an idea of the hospital in general and what you might be able to expect for your own birth. Another thing you can ask is, what is your induction policy? So are they going to start talking about inducing you at 39 weeks? Or are they going to let you go to 42 weeks without even talking about it? Lots and lots of women, and we'll talk a lot more about all of these things when we go over interventions later on in the series. I think it's like the 4th video I'm planning that one for, and that will have tons and tons of evidence-based facts for you to really understand and make good decisions. But for now, I'll just say that lots of women are being pushed before their bodies and their babies are ready, and the induction, if your body's really not ready, the induction is not going to work and you're going to end up in a C-section. And we're trying to avoid major surgery if you don't need it. So you want to ask them, what's their policy on that? Are you going to give it to me regardless just because of a date? Or are you going to look at all the factors, the baby's health, whatever? Another thing you can ask is what that induction is going to look like. Are they going to try maybe a membrane sweep first? Are they going to put you straight into Pitocin? These are things that you want to ask so you know ahead of time. And then what tests and procedures are required to remain in their care? So do you have to get your glucose? Do you have to get your Group B strep test? Do you need to be induced at a certain time? Like, what things have to happen for you to remain in their care? And then, which kind of goes along with this, you can ask, what happens if I decline blank? So you might say, if I don't want this or that, are you going to drop me? If they say you cannot decline it, first of all, that's BS, because nobody can force you to do anything medically that you do not want to do, but that means that they could stop caring for you. And you're gonna wanna know that ahead of time, so you're not 39 weeks saying I'm not doing something, and then they say, well, we're not gonna care for you anymore, and then you're stuck scrambling for another care provider in the last minute. Or you feel like that's not an option, so you just go with it even though you don't want to. So asking that ahead of time can give you more time to plan, so you get the type of care that you're really wanting. And then you can ask what their standard newborn care is. So how do they feel about delayed cord clamp? Are they gonna give you chest to, like skin to skin contact right away? Are they gonna encourage breastfeeding right away? These types of things, as well as what vaccines they plan on giving or what is standard for that hospital. If they're gonna do the ointment in the eye, vitamin K, all those types of things. What can you expect? Are they gonna keep baby with mom as much as possible? Right now with COVID, I'm hearing so many horror stories of babies being taken away from the mother if they're refusing a test, or if their test comes out positive, and that is just so not evidence-based. Babies should remain with mom and be encouraged to breastfeed even if mom is positive. So, oh gosh, please look into that if you're giving birth around this pandemic and your hospital is telling you that it's standard for them to take your baby away for 2 weeks, because that is not evidence-based, and you can go over to evidencebasedcare.com and see for yourself the science of why that is not helpful to you or baby and the harm that it can do to baby. So those are the questions that I would start to think about. You can definitely write down more. You might have certain things that are scary to you, or certain things that you feel very passionate about that you don't want or do want, and you can see if they're going to offer that to you or make you do something that you don't want to do. So I hope you guys learned something. Next time we're going to talk, it's going to be a short video too, just about pregnancy, what to expect in your first, second, and third trimester, and possible tests and things that your care providers might be offering or expecting you to do during those times. After that, let's see, care, pregnancy, then it's the fun stuff. We're gonna go over all the stages of labor. That's an interesting one, I think, and I know most people want to hear all about that. So we'll go over all the labor stuff, and then we'll go over all the interventions and the statistics and stuff behind that, so you can really feel prepared and make good decisions for your family, because you are the one in control, not your care providers. Of course, it's nice to have them and to get their recommendations, but just because something is evidence-based does not mean that it has become standard care. And just because something is standard care does not mean it is evidence-based. Basically, what I'm saying is the hospital could be doing something as standard care that just has nothing to back it up. And that's not the kind of care that you should be wanting for yourself. So we'll go over all of that. All right, so stay tuned. The pregnancy video should be up in a few days. Thanks. Sorry guys, so I totally forgot to include one more option as far as your care goes, and that would be the unassisted option. Going unassisted for pregnancy and labor is legal in all 50 states, so it is an option for everyone. If you do plan to go unassisted, then you should be very well educated on the birth and labor process, as well as things to look out for in your pregnancy, and when you should contact a medical professional when like certain emergencies might arise. So just being very well educated is important for unassisted. Some women do like to have a doula for you know, mental support, but they are not able to give you any medical support in that type of, or in any environment. But if you are hiring a doula and you're doing an unassisted birth, definitely ask them, because some doulas do not work with unassisted births at home. They only will work home births if there's a midwife. So just ask that ahead of time. I just wanted to let you guys know that that's an option. I can't believe I forgot it. It's like flipping through and just totally forgot to bring it up. All right.